Is it working? Oh, cool. I hope that the quality and connection isn't absolute trash. I am streaming this from my school Wi-Fi, so very likely it'll be pretty terrible. Also, I'm not using like a mic or like earphones or anything, so honestly, the quality might be really bad, so I apologize for that in advance, but I just wanted to talk about Enneagram. I've been having a lot of like creative energy and creative ideas, but I haven't been like acting on any of them. So I was like, instead of just being like, oh, I must like put out this perfect product, I was like, let's just turn on the camera and ramble because I'm good at that. So as a better intro, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Jaycee. I am an Enneagram type 3. And today I just wanted to talk about instinctual variants because as far as like intro Enneagram goes, I guess, I don't want to be like classist, like acting like I know a lot about Enneagram. I really don't. I just have like an unhealthy obsession with like personality typology. But as far as like Enneagram goes, I guess, okay, I'm gonna give a really crude, basic, simple rundown of Enneagram to start off with. But basically, there are numbers, personality type sort of things from 1 through 9. And these basically are represented by like your greatest fears, as well as like your coping mechanisms, as well as like being based on how you were raised, essentially, and the needs that you have, I guess. But there's like another layer that I guess isn't on the basic layer of Enneagram, and it's the instinctual variants. So for those of you who have never heard of it before, there are 3 different instinctual variants, and they are in no particular order: social, sexual, and self-preservation. So I guess to give a little bit of background or a little bit of context, I am a 3, like I said, and I am a self-preservation dominant, and then I am a social after that, and then I'm a sexual blind. So a way that people talk about them, you can use like a shortened version of these words. So instead of self-preservation, you could call it SP. Instead of social, you call it SO, and instead of sexual, you call it SX. That's just for like simplicity's sake, like if you're typing it. So if you're from like the Twitter community and you've seen a whole bunch of like these random looking things and you don't know what they are, well, that's what they are. So I guess to give a little more background, these are also known as like interaction styles. So these are what determines how you would, I guess, interact with other people. For each Enneagram type, there is like a certain instinct that is like the least likely, or it makes you look the least like your Enneagram type. So it's called the counter type, I believe. But anyway, for a 3, I'm not going to go into me being a 3, but I am going to go into like the instinctual variants. So as an SP, self-preservation dom, essentially, being a self-preservation dominant, or even if it's your secondary, it means it has a lot to do with like survival. So in general, like in a sort of interaction, it's like my survival is kind of the most important thing. So that could look like if a bunch of my friends are texting me and they're trying to like hold a conversation through text, my first priority would probably be like me. So then I might not answer, or I might reply really shortly. Like someone says something really interesting and I'm like, cool. Or like it kind of comes across like on Twitter when like someone says something and like my replies are like, that's so cool, exclamation mark. And like I mean it, but also like that's all I got. Like I'm not necessarily very good at like getting past that. Like a lot of people like to say that like, oh, I don't want to do small talk. I just want to like get to know you and all your like deep secrets and stuff. But for me, honestly, I'm fine with staying on the small talk. Like, yeah, I think you're interesting. I think you're cool. But like, I'm also kind of just like chilling and, like just having a good time and kind of vibing. Yeah. So, I mean, there is that. So that's I guess, what I would think, like, my self-preservationness, and it also comes across as me, like, um, thinking about money a lot, I guess. I wouldn't say, like, I'm money hungry or money crazy, and I don't think that, like, I love money, but I am money conscious. So it's like when I'm working, I'm like, okay, I gotta save my money, I gotta budget. I'm not the type to just go and, like, splurge all my money because I know that I am my biggest investment. And if I am gonna get close to someone, like, it's usually like, I don't want to say like I'm using them, but it's also like if I don't see any mutual benefit to me and I feel like I'm getting used or I think I'm getting used, like, I'm not really gonna make that relationship happen, I guess. Like I have an extensive screening process before you could get close with me. I think that's a little bit different from sexual dominance, because for sexual dominance, right when you like meet them, or this is what I hear from my sexual dominant friends. I'm a sexual blind, so I don't really know, but apparently they have like this immediate sort of chemistry that they could feel with someone. Like they immediately know like if you're gonna vibe or if like it really ain't it, like they just know right away. Like they know, and like they can tell and feel the chemistry. Like for me, I don't know what that means. Like I don't know if I'm gonna be close to someone just from like first interaction. Like I don't know. Like yeah, I'm really bad at telling stuff like that, and I'm not like, oh, I want to like get to know you so well. Like right now, like no, I take a little bit longer to like open up, and I'm not the type to like tell people all about my feelings unless they ask. So if you're like the type that like doesn't ask, then I won't tell you, and like that's fine with me. I'm not like offended or sad or anything like that. So it's like I feel like that has to do a bit with like interaction styles with the instinctual variants. I apologize for using plastic. I know our cafeteria, when you buy like food, they give you these, and I'm like, on one hand, I want to be like environmentally friendly and environmentally conscious, and on the other hand, it's like I'm already paying for it. I know it's bad, but I'm trying to cut it out. I'm trying to cut out as much single-use plastic as possible. But on the other side, I do actually keep using these. I reuse them. Not that that makes it better, but I do reuse them. That is totally off topic. But the one I didn't mention yet much was like the social instinctual variant. And that one, if you read I highly recommend this book. It's The Complete Enneagram by Beatrice Chestnut. If you read that one, they like to call the sexual as one-on-one. So it's like a deep, intimate one-on-one relationship. And then they kind of mention social as like a group setting where like the hierarchy is important and you're very aware and conscious of like where you lie on this hierarchy. And then self-preservation is like, oh, like I'm making sure I take care of my bodily needs. Like I am cared for. And like a lot of people, I think, like at least in the Twitter community, don't necessarily agree with the way that the sexual subtype is like shown. Oh, they're also called subtypes. There are a lot of different things I've been calling them: variants, interaction styles, subtypes. But anyway, there's like a whole, you'll pick up on the lingo or you won't. And you could tell me if I'm using wrong lingo because I might be. But anyway, as far as like the instinctual variants go, so I don't necessarily agree with it. Like there's a big thing about like a lot of people mistyping as a sexual dominant when they first hear about instinctual variants. And I actually did too. I thought I was a sexual dominant because they're like described as like intense and like, like they want to strip away like your being and just get to know you and get deep. And like, it's like, could be really quick and then it can fade away really quickly. And I was like, oh, that's totally me. And like a lot of people could probably relate to something like that. It's kind of one of those catch-all sort of statements. So I was like, I thought I was a sexual dominant at first. And then I was like, no, I'm a social dominant. And then now I'm like, no, I'm a self-preservation dominant. So it's been a pretty long journey of me trying to find like my variants. And like, as I study more and learn more, like maybe I'll realize that I'm like completely wrong, but the beauty of Enneagram, and like, I believe that type in general, like typology is not prescriptive, it is descriptive. So it's not saying you have to be like this. It's saying like, this is the way you probably tend to prefer to do something. Doesn't mean you have to. I'm not putting you in a box. I'm just trying to make it easier for you to understand, like the different types of categories of people that exist. So that's why I like typology. I don't like it when it's used for someone to be like, yes, I'm like this because my type says I am. And like, that's why I'm so rude and I'm so mean. It's like, no, you're mean because you're mean. You're not mean because someone like, yeah, because your type is mean or whatever. That doesn't even mean anything. But anyway, yeah, so I already hit 10 minutes. I barely talked about anything. I'm thinking of going around 15 minutes each for these videos. I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there. Maybe I won't. But anyway, to talk more about like my self-preservation function, I hear that also it's kind of hard to be able to tell if you're self-preservation function dominant just from early on, because like you need to mature and stuff. So it's like for me, like some days I like stay up really late and like, you know, I'm like doing homework, I'm studying. I don't necessarily drink a lot of water. I don't necessarily like, I'm not necessarily super like conscious about like, you know, my health and me, whatever. But definitely I like to prioritize myself, and I like to do it in like the least selfish way possible. But like on the other hand, it's like, if I don't get myself to succeed, like how will I succeed? And as an Enneagram type 3, even though I said I wasn't going to talk much about the Enneagram type, but as an Enneagram type 3, like I'm all about like, you know, my identity coming from like my achievements and my accomplishments. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to get myself that accomplishment because it is really important to me, not for the glory, but just because like I feel like it's part of who I am and who I have to be, which is, I guess, a whole other problem that I'm not going to get into in this video. But yeah, so that's what I was thinking about. But I guess in general, when I thought I was a social 3, the reason why I thought that was because I was very aware of like the hierarchy, and like I wanted to be on the top, you know, and I was like, oh, like I'm really good at like interacting with people and trying to like figure out how like they can be most beneficial towards me, even though it's mutual, and how can I benefit them in like a similar way. But something I've been realizing is like people say that the second type you have, like the second type, is used for the sake of your dominant type. So for me, I'm a self-preservation and then social. So that would mean like I use my social aspect, my interactions with other people, for the sake of me. So for my sake of like getting myself next, so self-preservation. But something else I also noticed was that like as far as self-preservation goes, I feel like as though my self-preservation extends over my really close friends once they are my close friends. Like I'm not just going to get myself to the next spot, but it's like if I invested enough time and energy into you, I'm going to make sure that you succeed as well, because you're my investment. Like, yes, I love you, you're great, but also like I put in this much time and effort into you, like you better be great, and like I will help you get there. And it's like I feel like that's a big part of being an SP as well. It's like it can look really selfish, but once you get to the point and the threshold where like the SP is extended over you, then like you're in luck, and you know that that person's gonna like push you to like get places. So that's something that I personally like about having close SP friends. It's like it's pretty encouraging, you know, because like once I'm in their bubble, they're like, did you eat? Make sure you eat, because if you don't eat, you won't study efficiently, you won't get to your next place, and then you're not a valuable connection. And I'm like, oh, good point, you know? So that's just kind of how I see it. This is not a very productive rant, but just for the sake of creative energy and putting it out there, this video is now out there. So thank you for staying this long. I will be back, and I hope I'll be back within a week. And I would like to do these videos like once or twice a week. Like I would like to hold myself to that. And I've just been recording them as live videos because it's a lot more efficient, just because the process of like trying to record and then upload, like the upload process takes too long. And if I'm going to do it all in one take and whatever, like I might as well put it up. And at some point, if, you know, I do it at a normal and reasonable hour, maybe people will be alive, will be watching my video live, and then I could interact with the comments, which would be really cool. So yeah, thanks for watching, and good night. See you on the next one. Yeah.